Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Directors meeting for February 2nd, 2016. I'd like to welcome everybody that's in attendance with us here tonight at City Hall as we go about doing the city's business. We've got a pretty long agenda, and so we'll get right into it. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read the roll.
Director Hendricks, Director Richardson, Director Webb, Director Kazort, Director Wright, Director Wyrick, Director Campuris, Director Fordson, Director Adcock, Vice Mayor Hines,
Present.
Mayor Stola.
Here. Let me call on City Director Gene Fordson for our invocation, please.
Will you join me in prayer? Our God, we thank you for the blessings that are ours as we live in a free country. We thank you for the opportunity to meet together in free discussion to discuss the city's business and to listen to the people and their concerns. We ask your guidance and protection for our uniformed first responders who provide protection for us from fire and police. And we also ask that you make sure that our deliberations this evening are beneficial, peaceful, and calm. These things we ask in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was trying to stay away from you.
Before we get into the agenda, we have one presentation this evening. Neighborhood USA is an organization that the city has participated in, and we usually send a large delegation to the NUSA conference. And we have a drawing for this evening. Several of us were asked to buy tickets. and Andre Bernard, our Director of Housing, is the president of NUSA. And it looks like he's going to do the honors here. Is that right, Andre? Let me turn this over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the board, and City Manager Bruce Moore. On behalf of Neighborhoods USA, NUSA, as president, and the board, we're really excited about this year's conference that's going to be held in Memphis, Tennessee, May 25th through the 28th. One thing that the board is proud of, and I'm uniquely proud of, is that the Little Rock delegation is always well coordinated from the gatherings that they do at the conference to the T-shirts that we wear. We're a united team. And the Little Rock team, Little Rock NUSA, has set themselves apart by raising money each year to send large delegations to the NUSA conference. And this year is no different. We've got 14 prizes we're going to draw this evening. We've raised over $3,600 just for this drawing in this one event. We're also going to have another fundraising event, a golf tournament, NUSA golf tournament. It's going to be Friday, April 1st. So we'll raise more money. So you golfers get ready to come out and golf and help us raise some more money so we can send another large delegation to Memphis this May. So I'm going to have Ms. Sherry Enoch and Ms. Liz Swinton assist me with drawing the names, and we'll get to it. Thank you again for all your support for NUSA. Some of the prizes we have this year, we've got lunch for 4 with the mayor, 55-inch flat-screen television, Samsung Galaxy tablet, Little Rock Marriott package, Holiday Inn presidential package, 3 gift baskets from neighborhood associations, Come and Go gift card, and 5 neighborhood associations donated gift cards. So the first winner is Miss Pat Becker. And what we're going to do is draw the names, and Ms. Becker has already told us if we drew her name that she wanted to lunch with the mayor, so that one's already down. So what we'll do is call the rest of the numbers, the names, and then we'll call the individuals and they can pick the actual prizes. So the next... The next person is Ms. Sharon Washington. Next person is Nancy Pruitt. Next person is Kenneth Miller. The next person is John Stratford. The next person is C.M. Young. Next person is Stephen Mann. Next person is Don Nance. Next person is Sandra Brown. Next person is Mildred Miller. The next person is Fred Jackson. Next person is Bobby Robinson. This next one is, looks like a Joanne, maybe Curry. And the last one is Miss Dana Cook. Once again, on behalf of NUSA and Team NUSA here in Little Rock, we thank the board and the city manager for all your support for what you do for NUSA. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Andre, and it's a great opportunity. Neighborhood USA is a great opportunity for citizen engagement with our local neighborhood organizations, and so I would encourage all of you who to seek out your neighborhood organization and get involved. You know, community is very important. It helps us when we have all of your eyes and ears out there to help us make sure that we keep our streets safe and we have a great place to live. So that's what NUSA is all about, and we're happy to see that it's going to be so close to Little Rock, because I know we'll have a large contingency of representatives there. Okay, we can now move on to the agenda, and board members, if you will look at your modification page, we have one ordinance that is a request by the applicant for a deferral until March 1st, and this has to do with the Herrick Heights rezoning. There's a motion and a second to defer. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, saying nay. The ordinance will be deferred until March 1st. Let me call on Director Doris Wright at this point in time. Doris, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I've distributed to my colleagues a resolution that I've had the city attorney draw up, and this resolution states that it is to declare a 12-month moratorium on multifamily developments along Bowman Road in order to determine traffic patterns and the impact on existing neighborhoods of the current multifamily developments, and to consider whether multifamily should be a part of the land use plan on this road and for other purposes. And as my colleagues know, this came about because of the application that has since been deferred, and there has been a lot of confusion. I've gone to, I think it was last Thursday, it was a 4-hour meeting, and it was apparent from that 4-hour meeting that those residents had no idea of what was happening, and that their POAs had meetings and they were not aware of the meetings. So I'm asking you all to allow us time to look at this area to see what the impact is going to be, because we have 2 huge developments under construction right now. And Bowman Road is mainly unimproved, and it needs additional work, and no money has been allocated for that. And what this moratorium would do is allow staff time to look at the intersections of 36th Street and Bowman, 36th Street in Shackelford, and Canis and Bowman, as well as the impact of the traffic patterns around the neighborhoods of Cherry Creek, Bodie Creek, and Sandpiper Creek, and to study the cut-through traffic through Brody Creek as it impacts Woodlands Edge. I've also been made aware of some potential possible drainage issues that Sandpiper Creek might encounter due to all the clear cutting that had to take place with the current development that is that's next door to them. So I would like this item added to the agenda tonight, but if that's not possible, then I would like to add it next week. But I want you all to know that I've had a lot of dialogue with my constituents out there, and they're very concerned about this. They feel that their property values are going to be negatively impacted by all of the apartments that are going in. And I really do think that we need to have some real data instead of speculation about the impact. And unless we pull back, look at it, and take time to look at it, let the current apartments that are under construction come online and see what the additional traffic is going to be like, we won't know. All we'll have is speculation. So the city attorney told me that 6 months to a year is about as much as we can get with the moratorium legally. He feels more safe with the 1 year. But I'm asking you all to allow time for this to be studied. I appreciate your concern. So I'd like to make a motion to add this to the agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second discussion. Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
Thank you, Mayor. My concern is that of the many, many calls that I received from the residents, I can tell you each one did not live in the area where those persons would need to be notified. So I have a problem with this, and I did share this with Director Wright. People are calling that's not within the boundaries, and that's my concern.
Well, let me respond to that, Mayor. Director Hendricks, I can appreciate that. I don't know who contacted you. All I can tell you that everyone that contacted me was either a resident of Brody Creek or Woodlands Edge.
Were they within the
Yes.
confines of 200 to, is it 200, 250? How many feet are we
Yes,
talking about?
they are within
Okay.
those
Yeah,
confines.
well then also, again, I repeat that so many of the residents that called me, and I specifically asked them, what was your address? And made them aware that they were not to be contacted, period. Thank you.
Mayor, the ordinance that the board passed, it sets forth the procedure for adding something on the night of the agenda that's not
understand.
requested by the city manager. Takes 3/4 of the board. I told Director Wright earlier today that was 8 because I was going with the number 10, but it's 11 because you're part of the board. That means she has to have 9 votes, and there aren't 9 people here to vote because this is not a measure. This would be a procedural matter, and you can't vote.
Okay, with that information being shared with me, then I would like to hold this then till the agenda meeting next week, and then ask that it be added to the agenda for
The 16th.
the 16th, February 16th
And
meeting.
Director Wright, I apologize. I was working the numbers in
That's
my mind.
okay. You got this done pretty quick, and I appreciate that, and I know you've got a lot to do. But this will give board members a little bit more time to study it and read it through and see what we're asking for, because at the end of the 1 year, I'm asking staff to produce a report that shares their findings with regards to the traffic patterns, the amount of traffic, what improvements they would recommend to Bowman Road and 36th Street, so that we have some hard facts, so that when we go into the last round of our bond funds, then funding can be allocated to address Bowman Road, because even now it's congested at peak times. And we definitely need to address the stacking issue at Canis and Bowman. So, thank you all.
Well, we have other people I think may wish to still comment. Director Kazort, you're recognized, please.
Mayor, thank you. And given that we're not going to discuss this tonight, I'll withhold my comments and concerns and discussion until we address this in a week.
All right. Vice Mayor Hines.
I'll do the same.
Director Adcock.
Yes. Mr. Moore, I've been out there several times this week, and on 36th Street, you have a large telephone box or something sitting right there in the middle, and that looks like an accident waiting to happen. Is that going to be moved very quickly?
Mayor.
Director Eckert, I know we have talked about that before, and I'll just have to, I'll redo the memo that talks about what we're doing there.
But when you make a left-hand turn onto 36th Street off of Bowman, you just run right into that box. Thank you.
Director Adcock, that's the box I've been talking about for several months now. That's humongous. And the developer had to widen that street and move it over. And that's where it's leaving the box like in the middle of the street. Somebody's gonna hit it. And I have not received any information back. So I'm waiting on this report from Mr. Moore as to how we're going to address this. And that's another issue, what I'm saying, we need time to look at this thing to see what it's going to cost to fix all this stuff.
We could build a roundabout around it.
Well, that was suggested by the developer, but I submitted the plans to the manager, and I never have gotten any response.
Okay, Mr. Moore's going to give us an update on it, and we'll see where we go from there. Thank you. Thank you all for that. All right, this will be on the agenda. I assume Director Wright will have this for us to put on our agenda at our agenda meeting next Tuesday for it to be debated and discussed the following Tuesday. Okay, with that said, we can now move on to the consent agenda, which are resolutions items 1 through 5. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read the resolutions.
The consent agenda consists of a resolution to order a contract to Contractor Specialty Service Company for pavement markings within the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes, a resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with V.R. Smith & Sons Incorporated for selective demolition and stabilization of the William E. Woodruff House in Little Rock, Arkansas, in an amount not to exceed $54,173, and for the purposes, a resolution to authorize the use of eminent domain on the 36th and Shackelford Road Improvement Project, and for the purposes, funding from the 2013 Limited Tax General Obligation Capital Improvement Bonds and the 2012 3/8 Capital Improvement Sales Tax. A resolution to authorize the city manager to extend a contract for the Arkansas Municipal League Municipal Vehicle Program in a total amount not to exceed $307,483.23 to administer a self-insurance program for the city of Little Rock's motor vehicle liability insurance, including compensation and collision coverage for current vehicles, and for the purposes, a resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Bells and Associates in the amount of $89,920 plus applicable taxes for Infor loss and upgrade and installation services, and for other purposes. That concludes the consent agenda.
There's a motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolutions as read indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The consent agenda is passed. We can now move on to a portion in our meeting which is called citizen communication. And for those of you in the audience, this is an opportunity where we allow 3 minutes to individuals who wish to address specific items that are not already on our agenda, something that we may not have heard about before. So at this time, I have one card. Cheryl Warden. Cheryl? Who wishes to discuss housing and neighborhood programs.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Stodler, Honorable Vice Mayor Hines, Little Rock City Board of Directors, and our esteemed City Manager, Bruce T. Moore. Thank you, Department of Housing and Neighborhood Programs, Director Andre Bernard, and staff. Willie Carpenter, Alerts and Operations Supervisor, started me with the application process, qualifying me for home repairs. 4 years later, I received a call from Brenda Johnson, home rehabilitation technician, informing me that decisions were being made about my much-needed repairs. The final call came from Housing Inspector Ricky Evans, confirming dates and times to begin the work. Although inclement weather conditions prevail, Mr. Stephen Williams, the contractor, and his employees began and completed a job well done. May I continue?
Yes, yeah.
Bruce?
You got 2 more minutes.
Ooh. Oh, 2. For one, I can't say my other one.
Keep going, Carol.
Keep going.
Keep
Oh,
going.
okay,
We're
just-
after 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, I had three things to say. Tucker Maximum Security Unit has a new warden, Mr. Danny Barrell. Arkansas Community Dispute Resolution Centers Incorporated ended another year of classes, January 29th, 2016, taught in the Unity Program, a prison and community gang intervention and prevention program. 2015 is an annual 11th year anniversary where I have taught 4 years with materials donated to me. I want to thank Secretary of State Mark Martin's office prepared voter registration restoration of voting rights for convicted felons, AT&T Director External Affairs Ronald L. Dedman for over 300 legislative directories, Know Your Representative, ACLU American Civil Liberties Union for Let Me Vote explanations of voting in Arkansas with a criminal history, Holly Dixon Legal Director. Arkansas Democrat Gazette newspaper staff, Ellen Wood Advertising, and Joy Summons, newspaper education materials they have donated. Department of Community Programs, Dana Dorsett, for reentry services, helping you transition back into the community. All pamphlets have been helpful for our returning citizens. Rock Region Metro revisit signage. I am a frequent bus passenger. My ride begins in front of my house, corner of 28th and Chester Street. Yellow bus route signs were replaced by gray with very little of the new green and bright blue colors. No one legally blind can see a gray bus stop sign. Waste of money. I can't see the gray bus stop sign in the daytime. I cannot see a gray bus stop sign at night. Pay raise, Rock Region Metro Chief Executive Officer. Bus drivers received a pay raise. Phone staff and dispatch, they have not. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. You got a lot said in 3 minutes.
Thank you, dear. Bruce told me I could, you might be able to pull it
I
up.
know that we have representatives on the Rock Region Metro Board, and I'll have them pass that information on to them. Thank you. Okay, we can now move on to our grouped items. We do have cards on item 7. So, Madam Clerk, if you would accept that one from our reading of the grouped items 6 through 19, with the exception of ordinance item number 7, please.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 36 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Little Rock, Arkansas, to provide for the modification of various procedures, definitions, and land use regulations, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled, Started to read that one. An ordinance to repeal ordinance number 19,507 of March the 21st, 2006, titled The Ranch Tract D, short form PCD, and to revoke a planned zoning district and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Huffstetler Property, long form PCD, located at 10,600 Interstate 30, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the City of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled Chenal Road Self-Storage, long-form PDC, located on the east side of Autumn Road, just north of Barnes & Noble, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the City of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned residential district titled Panther Branch, Lot 2, revised long-form PDR, located on the southwest corner of Kirby and Canis Roads, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the City of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes. An ordinance to repeal ordinance number 16,863 of March the 21st, 1995, titled 7510 Highway 300, short form PDR, and to revoke a planned zoning district and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Moxie Warehouse, revised short form PCD, located at 2615 West 15th Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the City of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned industrial district titled Garden Home Edition, revised PDI, located at 1800 East 17th Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the City of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Rawls Revised, short form PDC, located at 801 South Chester Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the City of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled SRVC on Canis Short Form PDC, located at 11,601 Canis Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled O'Reilly Automotive Store, Short Form PDC, located south of East Roosevelt Road between Rock and Commerce Streets, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to dispense with the requirement of competitive bidding and to authorize the city manager to purchase a curved LED sign for the Creative Quarters Main Street Mall building and for other purposes. An ordinance to grant a franchise for the use of city right-of-way for the placement of restaurant tables and other items for the exclusive use of Raduno Brick Oven located at 1318 South Main Street, to require the creation of a passageway consistent with the American with Disabilities Act and acceptable to the city as part of this franchise agreement, to set the other terms and conditions of this franchise for the franchisee and the adjacent property owners and for other purposes. First reading.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place these ordinances on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 36 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Little Rock, Arkansas, to provide for the modification of various procedures, definitions, and land use regulations. An ordinance to repeal Ordinance Number 19,507, titled The Ranch, Tract D, Short Form PCD, and to revoke a planned zoning district. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Huffstetler Property, Long Form PCD, located at 10,600 Interstate 30. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Chenal Road Self-Storage Long Form PDC, located on the east side of Autumn Road, just north of Barnes and Noble. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned residential district titled Panther Branch, Lot 2, revised long form PDR, located on the southwest corner of Kirby and Canis Roads. An ordinance to repeal Ordinance Number 16,863, titled 7510 Highway 300 Short Form PDR, and to revoke a planned zoning district. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Moxie Warehouse, revised short form PCD, located at 2615 West 15th Street. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned industrial district titled Garden Home Edition, revised PDI, located at 1800 East 17th Street. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Rawls Revised Short Form PDC, located at 801 South Chester Street. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled SRVC on Canis Short Form PDC, located at 11,601 Canis Road. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled O'Reilly Automotive Store, Short Form PDC, located south of East Roosevelt Road between Rock and Commerce Streets. An ordinance to dispense with the requirement of competitive bidding and to authorize the city manager to purchase a curved LED sign for the Creative Quarters Main Street building. An ordinance to grant a franchise for the use of city right-of-way for the placement of restaurant buildings and other items for the exclusive use of Raduno Brick Oven, located at 1318 South Main Street, to require the creation of a passageway consistent with the American with Disabilities Act and acceptable to the city as part of this franchise agreement, to set the other terms and conditions of this franchise for the franchisee and the adjacent property owner. Second reading.
Move we suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place these ordinances on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
That's the password to log on.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 36 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Little Rock, Arkansas, to amend for the modification, to provide for the modification of various procedures, definitions, and land use regulations. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled Packet House, An ordinance to repeal Ordinance Number 19,507, titled The Ranch Tract D, Short Form PCD, and to revoke a planned zoning district. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Huffstetler Property, Long Form PCD, located at 10,600 Interstate 30. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Chenal Road Self-Storage, Long Form PDC, located on the east side of Autumn Road, just north of Barnes and Noble. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned residential district titled Panther Branch, Lot 2, revised long form PDR, located on the southwest corner of Kirby and Canis Roads. Thank you. An ordinance to approve An ordinance to repeal ordinance number 16,863 titled 7510 Highway 300 short form PDR and to revoke a planned zoning district. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled Moxie Warehouse revised short form PCD located at 2615 West 15th Street. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned industrial district titled Garden Home Edition revised PDI located at 1800 East 17th Street. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled Rawls revised short form PDC located at 801 South Chester Street. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled SRVC on Canis, short form PDC, located 11,601 Canis Road. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled O'Reilly Automotive Store, short form PDC, located south of East Roosevelt Road between Rock and Commerce Streets. An ordinance to dispense with the requirement of competitive bidding and to authorize the city manager to purchase a curved LED sign for the Creative Corridors Main Street Mall building. An ordinance to grant a franchise for the use of city right-of-way for the placement of restaurant tables and other items for the exclusive use of Reduno Brick Oven located at 1318 South Main Street to require the creation of a passageway consistent with the American with Disabilities Act and acceptable to the city as part of this franchise agreement, to set other terms and conditions of this franchise for the franchisee and the adjacent property owners. Third and final reading.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to take a breath? Okay, we've had 3 readings of the ordinances. Is there any discussion on any of these items?
Yes.
Go ahead, if you'd, yes, Director Hendricks.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm asking about number 14. Mr. Moore, what is this? I don't recall getting it in my packet. It talks about a garden, and then it's on East 17th Street.
Mr. Moore, do you
Looking.
want to have Mr. Brzezinski?
Sure, let me ask Mr. Brzezinski to come forward. We went over it. It wasn't a new addition. We went over it it was on the agenda last Tuesday, but
You know,
Tony,
I left early.
Mr. Brzezinski.
I was sick.
Is it item 14?
Yes, that's the one.
Yes, yes. What is that?
Director Hendricks, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the board. Item 14 is property located on East 17th Street. It's an existing planned development industrial, and the request is a simple revision to increase the amount of paved area around the project, around the existing building. And that area is on the north side and also on the west side. Mr. Carter, if we could go to the site plan. Or the sketch, excuse me. Again, it's the area that's identified as proposed dock area, and then, which is to the north, and then along Boyce Street, which is on the west side of the property.
So the owner will be taking care of the cost for this?
Pardon?
Will the owner be taking care of the cost? You mentioned about paved areas.
Right, this is a private development, so it'd be the responsibility of the property owner or the developer.
Okay, thank you.
It's an industrial use, isn't that right, Tony?
Yes, ma'am.
Even though it's called Garden Home Edition?
That is the subdivision.
Okay.
And my
this-
second concern is number 19. I will be supporting it, but I wanted the board to know I was sort of disappointed that this item had been brought before the board, and we had tossed it around between the staff and the owner, and nothing was done about it. And now it's coming up where the owner is really getting what they had asked for. I know that there will be some cost involved in this, so I just wanted to let the board know that I'm aware that, and I hope that you're aware that this did come before the board several months ago, but it's here now. So, I told Mr. Moore I keep good records. Thank you.
That's correct. Okay, we've had the three readings of the ordinances. All in favor of the passage of the ordinances indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ordinances have passed. Thank you. We can now move on to item 7. Ordinance number 7. Madam Clerk, if you would, first reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a plan zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Packet House, short form PDC, located at 1406 Cantrell Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes. First reading.
Reading.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Packet House, short form PDC, located at 1406 Cantrell Road. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Packet House, short form PDC, located at 1406 Cantrell Road.
Okay, thank you very much. We've had the three readings. We've got 3 cards. We have 2 from the applicant and 1 in opposition. So let me call on the applicant and Mr. Hutchinson. I'll give you an opportunity to respond to any questions that might be raised at the end, if necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Vice Mayor, members of the board, City Manager Moore. I'm Jeremy Hutchinson, and together with one of my partners, Mark Camp, who is here tonight, and then a third partner, Rod Damon, who could not be here. He's on a business trip. But the three of us are excited to present this application to you to preserve and improve a landmark historic building in Little Rock, the Packet House. It's a house that I've driven by 1,000 times, and I still can't help myself every time I slow down and take a look at it because it's so beautiful and there's such rich history there. What we are proposing to do is to start a business club. It's very similar to most big cities. All big cities have at least one. So most cities have more than one. Even Fayetteville has one. But Little Rock really doesn't have anything like this. It'd be similar to the Harvard Club or Yale Club in New York. A place where businessmen and women, professionals can come, take their clients out to dinner, have special occasions for their wives or birthday parties. It would have, we are honored and thrilled to have Chef Donnie Furneaux, who is one of our finest chefs in Little Rock, join us to cook for the members. And it'll be used from 4 to 11 during the weekdays. This is a place to stop by after work, or again, take your clients or customers there. I don't want to waste the board's time by just reciting facts. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any, if that's appropriate now, or if, Mayor, you want me to come back and answer questions.
Okay, Director Adcock may have a question for you. Go ahead, Director Adcock.
When is this going to open?
We are targeting April 1st, but we are doing several renovations, restoring it back to its original historic with the hardwood floors and making several improvements, which it's hard to predict for a contractor when they're going to finish. They've given us a date, April 1st, but if you ever built a home, you know that's a soft date.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's all the questions for now. Thank you, Jeremy. The next card I have is from Donnie Furneaux. Donnie, if you come forward, please.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Board. My name is Donnie Furneaux. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. I'm a chef restaurateur. I'm proud to call Little Rock, Arkansas my home. One thing I'm very excited about with the Packet House is giving me a huge opportunity to use, what Jeremy said, the type of business as a platform for me to celebrate. If some of you know what I do, I support the local farmers, and it's given me a platform to give back to the community in a way to where we can cook great food in our state, but utilizing local ingredients, which will also stimulate the local economy by buying produce and ingredients from local farmers. And what I am very excited about is the type of clientele that will be there is a great audience that would want to see some of the products that are coming out of the ground right here in our backyard. For me to say I'm excited is an understatement. I'm very, very excited about this, and I feel very blessed for the opportunity. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Donnie. Director Wright has a question, perhaps?
No questions for you, but I would like staff to pull up the sketch or the map so that I can make sure that I'm
All right,
thinking of the
Mr.
right
Carter,
place.
if you'd maybe pull up this, and then if you'd pull up the sketch as well. Does that help, Director Wright, or do you want the other?
Up to the other one. I believe this says Ward 1.
Yeah, this is right in the curve of Cantrell Road or Highway 10, La Harpe, right over the viaduct and the bridge on the riverside.
Oh,
Okay, Director.
okay, I got you.
All right, we have one card who wishes to speak against the item, Mr. Russ Raycop.
Good evening. I'm not going to repeat the information that I provided to all the board members in an email in opposition to this. I'm just going to kind of hit on a couple of facts that are out there. Little Rock shouldn't be in the position of welcoming a bad business to town. And what I mean by that is these applicants have a history of not being good citizens. Senator Hutchinson didn't pay his professional attorney fees and was suspended for practicing law. Mr.
Raycop, you have to understand, this has to do with an issue of zoning the land. We don't make decisions based on those issues. If they're entitled to own a business, whatever particular issues there are that deal with them from a personality standpoint that some people may agree or disagree with is just simply not in the province of that. So it's not really germane to our issue. So
Well, I think it is,
stick to the
with all
land
due
use
respect,
issue.
and this is with the land use, because if this rezoning is passed, then you have a business that has a history of not paying taxes, not paying fees, using personal campaign funds for personal income, and these. Well, these are facts. They're not a tax.
Well, Mr. Raycop, I'm sorry. If you'll keep to the land use issue specifically and
All right,
not
that's
to the
fine.
personalities
If you could pop
involved.
back up to the map that Director Wright had up.
The zoning map?
Yes, sir, please.
All right.
If you'll look at that, down in the left-hand corner, you'll see the Collegiate Episcopal School. And back when it was the Packet House, the ABC incorrectly calculated the distance between what was the Packet House and the school. Their enforcement agent found that it was 1,050 feet from the school. And actually, at that time, they measured the distance from building to building. And from the building that's marked POD to the building that's right there above item 12, that's actually less than 500 feet. So had the information been presented to the ABC board at that time, according to their the state laws and rules and regulations of the board, they shouldn't have passed the Packet House's application for a permit. And now we're going from property line to property line. It's still less than 500 feet from the school and their on-campus chapel. And even though they've said that they're only going to operate certain hours, you know, they can go to having lunch and things like that. Now, Senator Hutchinson said on TV that the reason they wanted to have it at private clubs so they could control the behavior of their members. And I would withdraw my opposition if the senator and his partners would stipulate, and it be drawn into the ordinance, that if they have a member arrested for DWI after being at the club or for other behavior, that they would withdraw and close down their business. that's not going to happen, and he can't control their behavior. You know, again, these are remarks made, and I feel sure the board's going to pass this because you've got a senator that's behind it, and I'm sure that the ABC board
Mr. Rakob,
will pass it.
we look at these issues in terms of the appropriate land use. We ask our professional staff for their recommendations. So to make the suggestion that simply because somebody's an office holder and that's the reason why it's going to pass is really doing a disservice to the intelligence of this body that you're talking to.
Okay, so if it passes, then that wasn't a factor then.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rakob. As it relates to the ABC issue, that's a matter for the ABC and not this board. This is simply an issue of trying to rezone this property and for the purpose intended.
That reminded me of a point, if I might, Your Honor.
Go ahead, sir.
I would recommend that the board have a motion to defer this until after the ABC hearing. This group has already advertised on social media that they're open for business. They're asking for people to make reservations and applications, and they haven't even filed for a city license yet. So I think, and I realize I'm talking about the operation of the club, but I would urge the members to defer this until after this matter has been decided by the ABC board.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, that completes our cards. Let me call on Mr. Kazort first. Director Kazort, you're recognized, please.
Thanks, Mayor. And again, you were correct in pointing out that we don't decide zoning issues based upon the province of one particular state agency over areas we have no control over. Whether or not the applicant is successful or not successful in obtaining a restaurant mixed drink license has no bearing on his application to open a private club that serves food. And that's what's before us. The alcohol issue is strictly the ABCs. What we're voting on is a request to zone this and open it for a club that serves dinner as a private club. And I don't see anything wrong with this application whatsoever, and I'll be supportive.
Okay, that completes the conversation. Does the applicant wish to respond to anything?
Not unless there are specific questions.
I don't see any questions, so. Okay, we've had the three readings of the ordinance. All in favor of the passage of the ordinance indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ordinance is passed. Thank you all for your attention. Okay, we can now move on to the separate items that we have. Madam Clerk, if you would please read resolution number 20.
A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Century 21 United for real estate services and for the purposes.
There's a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. The resolution is adopted. We can now move on to the
22.
first reading of ordinance number 22.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled Hounds Lounge, Pet Resort and Spa, revised short form PCD, located at 1711 Rebsamen Park Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes, first reading.
Move we suspend the rules and place it on second reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. The second reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled Hounds Lounge, Pet Resort and Spa, revised short form PCD, located at 1711 Rebsamen Park Road, second reading.
Move we suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development, establish a planned commercial district titled Hounds Lounge, Pet Resort and Spa, revised short form PCD, located at 1711 Rebsamen Park Road, third and final reading.
Okay, we've had three readings. We have several cards. Let me call on the applicant first if they wish to address us.
Good evening, directors, mayor, vice mayor, city staff, and attorney. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here to present what Hounds Lounge can be for our community. I guess let me start with
Your name, please?
Oh,
If
that
you'll
might
tell,
be
you'll
helpful.
identify yourself?
That might be helpful. My name is Mandy Marshall. Thank you. So let me start with a journey. This came as a passion project for my partner and I, and unfortunately he can't be here. He just had a total hip replacement last week, so maybe he's watching us on the TV. This started 3 years ago for us. We don't have any children. We love to travel. We have 2 dogs that are our children. And if any of you are dog owners, then you know there's only so many times you can use the friend and family card to drop your dogs off for a weekend or for a week. And so this came out of a demand because we feel that the Midtown Heights, Hillcrest, Riverdale area, there's an unfulfilled need for this type of service. So Justin and I started this journey. We started working very closely with the Small Business Development Center, which is a great resource. You know, anybody that's about to start a business, definitely send them there, that our tax dollars pay for. Through that market research, it did exactly what we thought, that there was a demand in our area with so many pet owners. So, that being said, we started a journey with John Martin, who's at Moses Tucker. Many of you may know John. And we really didn't have an idea that finding a building was going to be as difficult as it ended up being. 2.5 years, we looked at several different facilities in the downtown area, and we stumbled upon this building last September at the Repsamen Park address. And it's absolutely perfect for our facility. The way it's set up, it's going to only require a minimum amount of construction. It's perfect for us because, as we know, Cantrell is one of the most traveled thoroughfares in the city. People traveling west to downtown to work every day. Imagine, though, those business professionals that have dogs that might be killing their lunch break to rush home to let their dogs out at lunchtime. Now they can drop off their dogs to us at Hounds Lounge. In a moment, I'll get to our services that we're going to offer. But also, I'd like to point out that the Repsamen Park Road address is located on the main thoroughfare to the dog park. So that's going to be very beneficial for those pet owners that travel and frequent to the pet park. So as far as our services, you may be wondering, okay, what is a dog daycare? Some people call it a kennel. It's far from a kennel. This is going to be a luxury, upscale boarding facility, better known as a pet hotel. If any of y'all have pets, you probably feel a little bit guilty when you got to go out of town. You don't want your pet sitting in a chain-link cement floor building. If I may, I'm sorry, may I pass these around?
Certainly.
This is some photos that I put together just to give you guys a better idea of what we are going to do with Hounds Lounge. This is exactly what I said, an upscale luxury pet hotel. You'll be able to tell that each pet will have its own hotel room each and every night. It's going to have an indoor play area for them to play each and every day. So dogs can be social. That way, if you were to come drop them off for daycare, you don't have to feel guilty about coming home and not walking your dog. Your dog is going to be tired. Each individual space here, there are going to be 41 suites, and each individual space will be rented out by a pet owner. So the maximum of 2 dogs can be in each kennel. I'll tell you, if there were 2 dogs in each suite, I would be really rich. But the chances of that happening aren't very likely. So we're not looking at 82 dogs in this facility. So through our market research in the last 3 years that we've been doing this, we have traveled to major cities that have similar businesses like this in their downtown area, piled right in next door to other businesses. And we've made some great relationships that have been able to help us through this process. And through that, we found that the need for the indoor play area is very important for animals. So, we really are going to strive on customer service. We're really going to strive on cleanliness. We want to be the the one-stop shop for pet owners in the community. Looking at the diagram that you have there, you're going to see that we also have self-washing stations. So if you're a pet owner, you could come down, you can wash your dog yourself, or you drop your dog off with us and we'll wash him and send him home. I think this will be a great asset for those dogs. If their dogs are anything like mine love to roll around in the mud when we go down to the dog park. We're also going to have a little bit of a retail for some dog food, so people in the community can come down to us and they don't have to travel across town to pick up their dog food. Well, so we started this process in November. We were supposed to be on the November commissioners meeting, and I had to send out a letter, the certified letter that each of us have to send out for the rezoning. And I made the choice to volunteer a letter to put into that, just to bring a peace of mind to each property owner, introducing myself, introducing the concept of the business. And have you not, there was a gentleman that called the last few hours before that meeting started, telling me his concern was noise. Respectfully so, we're part of the community. We want to be his neighbor. We didn't want to waste any of the commissioners' time. So we made the option to defer our meeting. So we didn't meet with the commissioners till December. We did that. We have attempted to make every compromise that we can with the opposition. And we haven't come to a compromise. So with that being said, at the commissioners' meeting, which we've got 10 voted yes and 1 voted no. But there was a suggestion. It wasn't mandatory, simply a suggestion, just for the betterment of our business, to hire a sound engineer. So we did that. And I'll let him, the sound engineer is here. He has a card in with you, Mr. Mayor. I'll let him speak on the technical terms of our findings there. I feel that we have done everything in our power to work with the neighborhood on this planning, on our business. As a matter of fact, Roger Clark came in with a petition at the commissioners' meeting, and Roger was the only one here. And I'd never met any of the people that signed that petition, so I thought that it would be the respectful thing to do to go and introduce myself, to let these homeowners and the residents of this community get to know me and hear about Hounds Lounge themselves. So I've done that. I hope that each one of y'all will support Hounds Lounge, and if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those.
All right, thank you. Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
Thank you. I'm looking at your photo, so would I be able to visit this?
Yes, ma'am. You can come take a tour anytime you'd like.
I will. Thank you. That's
You're
it.
very welcome.
Okay, it doesn't look like we have any other questions at this point in time, so let me call on some of the next people that wish to speak in
Okay.
favor of this.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I hope you're feeling better, Director Hendricks.
Stephanie Lopez, please.
Nervous coming up here.
Ms.
Hi.
Lopez, if you'd give your address as well, please.
Okay, I'm Stephanie Lopez, 1806 Iris Street, which is in the Riverside neighborhood. And I'm very much a part of our community. I serve on Keep Little Rock Beautiful Board. I am the Riverside Neighborhood Association president, and I serve on the Leadership Council at the real estate company where I work. And I went to find out what was going on, met with Director Webb, the owners, Jimmy Moses, and Mr. Clark, and to see if this was going to be doable for our area. And they assured me they were going to address the noise concerns that Mr. Clark had. So my personal opinion, I'm not speaking for my association or anyone else, my personal opinion is, since they're addressing the noise concerns, I feel that this is going to be fine for our area. We also have a train that is right behind us, too, so can't remove that either. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Next card I have is from Sammy Johnston.
Mayor and Vice Mayor, board members. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you, but I also want to thank each one of you for the time you spend serving our community, because I, as a community citizen, really appreciate it. I'm a big animal advocate. I was one of the founders of the Heights, the Humane Society.
Sammy, would you push that microphone just, there we go.
I was
Thank
one
you.
of the founders of the Humane Society Day Planner, which has raised over $500,000 for animal welfare in our community. I was also one of the founders of Care Paws on the Runway at the Governor's Mansion, which has raised a lot of money, so you can tell I'm a big animal lover. I very much am in favor of Hounds Lounge. I know that it's a good project. I have a lot of respect for the owners and the people who are developing it. They have gone through all the steps and all the processes that have been requested of them. The whole community will benefit from this, there's just no doubt about it. The sound test that was run proved that there is not going to be a sound problem for anybody in the area, and I'm sure that the gentleman you're going to hear from next will be able to point that out. I think it's exceptional that this is an environmentally sound building. It's an LEED building, which has had wonderful facilities for these animals and for the people who will utilize this. I congratulate you also on the fact that Little Rock has one of the finest animal shelters, the Animal Village, that I've ever seen any place, and I will be going there soon to replace my lost pet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sammy. Next card I have is from Claire Jones.
There, board, mayor. I'm here in support of Hounds Lounge, as my husband and I are residents in and around the neighborhood and work in and around the neighborhood where the facility is going to be built. We also are pet lovers and own two big babies. So 140-pound Alaska Malamute and a sweet little 70-pound, mutt. But we utilize the amenities down at Riverdale all the time. We're always there at that specific dog park, or we're taking them over the Big Dam Bridge. So for us, some of the amenities we think that Hounds Lounge is going to offer, especially the do-it-yourself wash your dog. I mean, you try washing a 140-pound dog in your shower every other month. It's so some of those amenities excited about. Also, the fact that we've always kind of been hesitant to board them because of Kobe being so big, the confinements being so small, or they only play outside. Well, we have a Malamute. He doesn't do good in the heat in the summertime. So we really are excited that it's going to have the option to have an indoor, space big enough to have, for a big dog to play and/or outside. So we just think it'll be a really great asset to our neighborhood, and we are in support of it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Could she go on record as saying where her address is?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. It's 108 Linwood Court, 72205. And my husband owns his own business where he is always downtown. So that's probably the biggest help, is that he could drop them off on the way down. And then I do medical device sales, so I'm in and out of my house as well all the time for my travel. So.
All right, no, you'll have your time in a minute, please. Thank you very much. And if there are other follow-up questions, we can attempt to address those. The next card I have, we're going to get to everybody, so we got several cards here. John Eberly, please.
Mayor, board members, my name is John Eberly. I appreciate the chance to get to come and talk to you all just real briefly. I'm 75 years old. I've spent 75 years in the Heights, almost as long as Gene Fortson, my good friend, has, but he outweighs me there. But I've talked before, these kids, I say kids, these two people that have put this kind of a dream together really need some recognition. I've known them both for a while from a business standpoint when Justin was first getting started in the landscaping business and so on. They came and knocked on our door. And we've been friends, good friends ever since. He's got a great rapport with people, a great list of clients. And then along comes Mandy, who also is so successful in her own right. She's a tiger. She knows what to do. And when you're looking at someone that's starting a business, especially, I think, in an area like this that we take great pride in around here in our heights and so on, and you look at this and you think, gosh, what does it take? It takes integrity, takes honesty, takes trustworthy, takes a little guts, and so on. And these folks have all that. They have really put some blood, sweat, and tears to this. This is not just a little quick dream. They've worked on it. I've talked to them. The other people have. And they put a lot of time and a lot of thought into this. And when I look at the pictures of what that looked like, my first inclination was what they're proposing here. I've slept in a hell of a lot of motels that aren't near as nice as what this is. They have really put some hard work into this. And I think it would be a showplace down here. I really do. I would certainly appreciate the consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Everly. Next card I have is from Wayne Ritchie.
Mayor Stodola, Vice Mayor, fellow lady board members and staff. My name is Wayne Ritchie. I'm the owner of Sound Engineering. By trade, I am an audio engineer, a real estate developer, and also a real estate broker. So I am going to present the technical part of our program tonight in our presentation. A copy of my report should have been provided in your packets already. As recommended by the Little Rock Planning Commission, Sound Engineering was hired by Mandy Marshall with Hounds Lounge Pet Resort and Spa to conduct a sound and smell analysis of the proposed facility at Rebsamen Park Road. We were to measure the sound levels of barking dogs inside similar facilities and recreate the sound and sound pressure level measured inside the proposed facility on Rebsamen Park Road. We were to measure the sound level versus the same sound levels outside the facilities we evaluated. Also inquire about complaints due to smell whenever we were there. Lastly, measure the same sound levels externally at 1711 Rebsamen Park Road to recreate the distance of Mr. Roger Clark's house, which is approximately 171 feet to the property line and 201 feet total to the back of Mr. Clark's house from the pet boarding section of the facility. Also note that the boarding facility is below grade. The ground slopes to the back of the facility, Mr. Clark's property, and that's measured to the south. Notice one thing of importance about the facility where the dogs are going to be housed, being under grade, ground does block sound by quite a bit. And actually, a surprise to me, the average inside sound pressure of the barking dogs at all the facilities were 107.23 decibels, which is equivalent to a loud car horn or a rock concert. I was actually surprised it was that loud. The three facilities we chose to take measurements and conduct outside sound measurements were Chenal Pet Palace, which is a boarding, grooming, and daycare facility on Canis Road, the Humane Society of Pulaski County Adoption Center on Colonel Glenn Road, and the Little Rock Animal Village, also on Kramer Street in Little Rock. On January the 4th, we took analysis at Chenal Pet Palace. Also note the building construction was a metal building with no improvements added for current use over the previous tenant. The business has been in operation for more than 10 years. The dogs have individual suites inside and some are in cages. I've asked about complaints, and they told me there were no complaints by neighborhood residents or businesses regarding noise or smell. The internal sound pressure was 108.1 decibels, which is equivalent to a rock concert at this facility. But also 1 meter outside the building, the sound pressure was 58 decibels, which is conversational speech. And the vehicle traffic on Canis Road was over 72 decibels, which is a noisy office. On January the 6th, we measured sound at Pulaski County Humane Society. Note the building is concrete block and brick with nothing added for sound absorption. The business has been in operation for more than 15 years. The facility averages 77 dogs, which are up for adoption, and that was the number present that day during the sound pressure analysis. Also, there were no complaints by the neighboring residents or businesses regarding noise or smell. 171 feet, the sound pressure was 43.9 decibels, which is basically background noise in a city home, and 201 feet from the Humane Society, which basically is the same distance to Mr. Clark's house. It was 45.3 decibels, which is higher, but that was proximity due to Colonel Glenn and the traffic. The same day, we took measurements at Little Rock Animal Village. Also note the building construction is metal siding and brick. The business has been in operation more than 9 years. The facility can house up to 150 dogs. There's been no complaints by neighboring residents or businesses regarding the noise or smell. The internal sound pressure was 105.3 decibels, which is equivalent to loud classical music. And 171 feet from the facility, it was 52 decibels, which is private office. And also 201 feet, the same distance with Mr. Clark's house to Hounds Lounge, is also equivalent to a private office. On January 23rd, we done a recreation test at 1711 Brebsman Park Road, which is a proposed site for Hounds Lounge, with Commissioner Kathy Webb, Tawny Boyansky, and Donna James from the city staff present. The building construction is block, brick, and LEED certified platinum, which will add to reduced noise levels externally. The facility is currently open internally without the suites for dogs being constructed. These suites, when they construct them, will also absorb sound and thus block more sound being transmitted from the outside of the facility, much like the Chenal Pet Palace place. Facility is equipped to be with 44 individual dog suites. We use a large sound system, basically a PA system, to recreate over 108 decibels of barking dogs being played back. And if you guys were there, it was quite a sound. 171 feet from the facility, the noise was 64 decibels, which is equivalent to a business office conversational speech. 201 feet was 63.8 decibels. The property line from Mr. Clark to the front of the building, the measurements were only 44.4 decibels, and that's equivalent of a just standard city background noise. We could not go past that area due to trespassing on Mr. Clark's property or at his house without permission, which we did not get. Didn't ask. That's true. Note, all external decibel readings were the same regardless of barking dogs or not. We turned the tape off and turned it back on, and the same noise level was at the property line, Mr. Clark's, regardless of dogs barking or not. We also noted that the audio playback inside the facility was 108 decibels, which is louder than we recorded at the other three facilities. We wanted to make sure that we matched it or were louder. So basically, the summary of the test, which took several days, was based on the results measured and the recreation that we did on January 23rd. It is my professional opinion that the proposed use of this facility for pet boarding and grooming will not harm a peaceful and quiet environment, Mr. Clark, any of the area businesses, or any of the residents along the Brebsman Park Road. Our company, Sound Engineering, has been in business for 31 years. We're rated A+ by the Arkansas Better Business Bureau. We're licensed, insured, and bonded, and we also use all professional grade equipment for measurements and playback. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. There may be a question from Director Wright. Director Wright, you're recognized,
I guess
please.
I got a comment and a question.
Uh-huh.
My neighbor has a dog. I don't. And he barks all the time. And it's extremely annoying. Extremely. Now, in the city limits, you know, our houses are pretty close together. I get that. And I'm hoping over time that he'll catch my scent and stop barking every time I open my door. But anyway, that's another story. But my question is 171 feet. I'm trying to visualize that in my mind as to distance. So this barking dog, which is quite annoying, especially if you don't have dogs, but half a football field.
More.
Or more.
A little bit more.
A little bit more. So I could still hear him at half a football field, would you think, Mayor? Would I be able to hear this dog?
Doris, I don't know what you can hear.
You know, I'm just trying to get my mind around it because, like I said, you know I'm not, everybody knows, I like pets over there.
You can come visit my dog if you like. see.
I know. And Joan, no, bless her heart, she's passionate. I like them over there. But I'm just saying, I know it's annoying, the constant barking. So I was trying to get a visualization in my mind as to the distance and how much would be able to be here. I mean, if it's distant barking way down the block or to the park or something, I could deal with that. And I'm thinking that half a football field would probably be down to Union
Well,
Park.
your neighbor's probably quite a bit closer than a half a football field away.
Yeah.
I guess
Okay.
that's the way maybe for you to try and judge it.
Next question, well, I guess it's a question, and I got an email from Mandy, and she did share with me that she was going to insulate the portion of the building that backed up to where the dogs would be at night.
Correct.
Was that correct? And do you know how thick that insulation will be?
I don't know at this time, but I was actually very surprised. I've been in the audio business for a long period of time, and I was at Pulaski County Humane Society. There was a little black dog. That little black dog barked over 105 decibels, just that one dog.
Yes.
I mean, that dog had it going on, basically. And that may be the dog you're thinking about. Somebody may have adopted him.
Just saying.
But that little dog could bark. He really could. Personally, there are some electronic devices I can tell you about that actually can help keep your neighbor's dog from barking.
Really?
Yeah, they're ultraviolet. I'll give you my business card and tell you about
I
those.
got to call you.
Won't hurt the dog or anything, I promise. I have 2 dogs and a cat, and my cat's the one you have to worry about, not the dogs.
Okay.
It's vicious.
Oh, thank
But
you.
the thing with the dogs was anything outside, a loud car stereo, a horn, or anything like that, you're probably going to hear. But what we were mainly concerned with was at night when the dogs are inside. I have been beside a Faded Rose, Buffalo Grill, Cross-Eyed Pig, and there's a lot of noise over there during the day. It's going to happen, but mainly at night. And one thing that I did note, that even Pulaski County Humane Society, it was over 108.3 decibels over a rock concert on the inside. That's just a concrete block building. Standing outside the building, it was 68, which is conversational speech, just concrete block. It doesn't take a lot on the inside to actually block sound.
So the thickness of these walls, you would think, are not just concrete block, there is something else?
One problem this facility has that Mandy is addressing is the glass door. Glass does transmit. I mean, if you've ever toasted, held the glass up, and done your fork to get people's attention, glass does transmit sound. And with a curtain or sound absorption material, most anything in front of that door, that'll block that sound. There are speakers that actually are constructed of glass internally to transmit sound. So one of the issues that she has now, we were very happy to have the numbers we have with the glass overhead door. That's a large overhead door. I think you could probably pull a bus through there. It's so large. With the sound absorption material in front of that door, I don't think you can hardly hear anything at night outside. I'm
Okay.
confident with that.
Okay, thank you.
Director Fortson, you're recognized, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Ritchie,
Yes, sir.
I'm not too sure I followed all of the measurements, but physically, the objector's residence is across Riverfront Drive from this
That's
structure.
correct.
Now, according to
Rebsman Park,
information.
I'm sorry, Rebsman Park.
Park, we'll get to you in
Rebsman
just a
Park,
minute.
I'm sorry. According to the information I got, and I'm not too sure this is totally authentic and current, but it was the best I could find. There are about 6,500 cars per day on that drive. There's also a railroad track, and there are 2 trains per day, I was told, through that area. Do your measurements, I mean, if you've got X amount of noise because of the car traffic, would your measurements indicate that that level of noise would overcome whatever might come from across the street? Because you mentioned also, which I got curious. I went out there at night last week after this was discussed. There's a lot of noise out of the Faded Rose, I think, closes at 10 or 10:30. And there's street noise when you're out there from that, and the cars going by. And at night, it's not an endless stream of traffic, but they're regular cars. And just listening to the decibel readings you gave, would that noise drown out any level of, or the level of noise you measured coming from the building?
Yes, it would. You would, I mean, the human ear can only hear certain things. If four people are talking at one time or one person is talking, the human ear takes it all in. And some people, as we know, are louder than others. With the staff, we were standing on Rebsman Park Road, and that was the weekend after all the snow. So there wasn't a lot of traffic through there. But we had the sound pressure meter on Rebsman Park Road measuring an average around 44 decibels. When a car came by, it would go up to 79, just with the level, the noise of the car. And I also measured the same thing on Colonel Glenn Road and Canis Road. Whenever vehicle traffic would go up and down the road, that would increase the sound level. And I think it was noted also there's a train that's behind the facility. I don't know what the levels are of the train. We try to get those measurements and levels of train, but we were told those are proprietary.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ritchie.
Thank you.
The last card I have in favor of the item is Hannah Driscoll.
Hi, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Board, for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Hannah Driscoll, and I'm a resident of Little Rock. I live in West Little Rock. I am currently living off of Pinnacle Valley Road, and Pinnacle Valley Vet Clinic is approximately 174 feet from my front door of my house. That being said, they have 50 kennels when I contacted them where they do board, and they do overnight boarding. They can hold up to 2 dogs in each kennel, so they could have at max about 100 dogs. I currently have 3 dogs. I have 2 little ones that like to bark all the time, and then I have 1 big lab that she barks louder than those 2. And not once have I ever had a problem being 174 feet from the vet clinic where they board with my dogs barking. They do not bark inside my house, and I mean, I have never personally heard anything coming from the vet clinic that has bothered me or alarmed me based on the noise from the dogs that they have. They are inside and they are outside. And I guess it would concern me if I did hear the dogs, because I do have a newborn baby at home, and I certainly do not want him to be woken up for me to have to take care of that. But also, I work in the downtown area, and traveling from West Little Rock, it would be very convenient for me to go down Cantrell Road to be able to drop my dogs off. Right now, I'm having to go home. I'm tired. I want to take care of my baby and spend time with him. I love my dogs. They were my kids before I had a kid, but now I have a kid. So, of course, he is now, a whole lot more special to me than my dogs are. I still love them. However, they've kind of gotten pushed to the side. I don't take them for a walk like I used to, and they have gained weight, and that needs to be taken care of. So something like this would be very convenient for me, and I'm sure other people too. Traveling towards the downtown area, I would be able to drop my dogs off in the doggy daycare. They could run and play, and that way when I get home, I don't feel guilty that I haven't taken care of my dogs. And I do know when I travel, it's hard for me to be able to find someone to keep my dogs, because I do have 3. And when I go to board somewhere, I'm always worried about how they're going to be treated. Is someone going to be there at all times to take care of my dogs? And the one thing that I do know is that this facility is going to offer 24-hour watch. There will be someone there 24 hours. So as a pet owner, with my dogs being there, I would feel comfortable leaving them there when I were to go on vacation, knowing that they would be taken care of 24 hours a day, just like I would. So I guess that's all I have to say.
Director Wright, you're recognized, please.
I need clarification on something. Not having animals, my question for you is, do you hear anything from the place across the street, or is it that it doesn't register with you because you have animals inside?
I personally do not hear it. Okay. I mean, I don't have a problem when I let my dogs out in the backyard for them barking and throwing a fit. They throw a fit more when, someone is next door to me and walks outside. You know, it's not, there you go. It's not something, I mean, they don't, and I know every dog is different, but I've never had a problem with it. So.
Okay. One more question, Mayor, and I guess it's for the owner. At night, say you got all these different dogs in there, say they don't like each other, and they all start a ruckus. How do you keep them calm?
Me?
No, the owner. Come, yeah,
No, you have
come
to,
up.
no, please,
I didn't know if I was invited.
Yes, yes.
That's a great question, Director Wright. We will be playing calming music. I know during the day, I play calming music for my dogs during the day in the interim of a dog walker coming to let my dog out. Calming music will be played. We will have staff, like Hannah said, overnight there. If there is a dog that might be, its first time boarding, might be distressed, that gives an opportunity for that employee to go and calm down that dog personally. If we do have a dog that's a nuisance that will continue to bark, that may uprile the rest of the animals there, it's going to be asked not to come back until he gets training, until maybe he grows up a little bit. Because it's the last thing we need. I hate going to a hotel and hear my neighbors fighting. I understand that.
I don't know if the calming music will work for a dog person, Joan. Will it work?
Yes,
Okay.
mine listen to music.
would you mind giving the playlist to Director Rice so she can give it to the neighbors?
Listen, I'm sensitive to this issue because of what I have to live with. And my neighbor is just as nice as he can be. So I know that if I bring this device to him, he's probably going to use it, and that's going to help our situation.
I bet you could even put it on your back porch.
Oh, that's even better.
And he doesn't even have to know.
Oh, all right. Director Hancock, you're recognized, please.
I think it's time that we all made sure that Director Wright gets a dog so she can be better informed at these meetings.
I'll take care of him for you.
All right, thank you very much. We have other cards.
Do you? Wonderful organization.
Okay, we have our advisory board meetings at the Amble Village, in the education room, which is on the front of the building. The dogs are right there down the hallway. I have never heard the dogs at the Amble Village barking while we're in there, because the lights are all off and everything is quiet. And so dogs are just like you, they sleep at night.
Absolutely.
So I don't think that there would be, we're going to bring it to the Amble Village so I can train it. But I think that that is far enough away that it should not be a problem, particularly with your trains and everything else going through there.
We're trying to take every measure to make sure that we can be a good neighbor to the homeowners across the street.
You can make all the dogs bark at one time if you run in there and clap your hands loud. and
Absolutely. If they think
everything.
I'm excited, they're going to get excited.
But usually at nighttime, when we have our meetings out there, there's no problem to it whatsoever.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. We can now turn to the cards in opposition. Roger Clark. Mr. Clark, if you come forward, please.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Directors. First of all, let me clarify. This isn't an issue about Roger Clark. I have other neighbors, if you guys would like to stand in your opposition. These neighbors have lived there for a long time also. There are other neighbors that would like to be here tonight, and that's one of the points that I'm going to talk on, is that we do have folks in the neighborhood that are nurses and so forth at UMS that work at nights and sleep during the day. So we'd like to have more folks here, but I do have, if I could submit this, I do have
Certainly.
petitions signed by 40 owner-residents of the neighborhood out of approximately 109 houses.
Mr. Clark, if you'd hand them to Mr. Fortson, and then he'll pass them around.
I also was given by another neighbor, able to get by herself. You know, I think maybe I crossed a line in my opposition by calling this a kennel. I have, when I've had this discussion with people, let them know that it's an upscale dog hotel type resort. But I was always using the Little Rock Municipal Code definition of kennel. And that definition is that a kennel means an establishment wherein any person engages in the business of boarding, breeding, buying, grooming, letting for hire, training for a fee, or selling dogs or other animals. So we can call this thing whatever you want to call it, but according to the definition for Little Rock ordinances, it is, for all intents and purposes, a kennel. You know, the folks here tonight talked about doing sound levels and that sort of thing. And that's great, and I think the neighborhood would be willing to make the concession. I don't speak for the neighborhood, I speak for me and for the folks that I just presented through proxy. Trying to get this right here. You know, I don't think that everyone would be opposed to this facility being there if the same rules were applied to this one as this board found and applied to a Hillcrest ruling in 2008. And if you guys would just allow me a few minutes here, and I have copies for everyone, well, for all the directors and the mayor, vice mayor. This was a decision about a business called the Dog House. It was a short form PDF that was submitted. The date on this one is October the 30th, 2008. I'm not going to read through the whole thing. I'm just going to highlight, because a lot of it, as you well know, in these is redundant information. But the proposal request was that the Dog House operates a dog grooming, bathing, daycare, and limited boarding facility. This is the same thing we're talking about with Hounds Lounge. The business has also incorporated an outdoor area just behind the building, and this outdoor area was approximately 200 square feet. Hounds Lounge, in their proposal to the Planning Commission, they are requesting a use of a 2,000 square foot outside facility. And I might also add that the overhead door that they have that would access that outside area is 20 feet, 4 inches wide. So anyway, back to this. The business has incorporated the outdoor area just behind the building that was used during the business hours of 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. daily. The outdoor play area was not an advisable use under the current zoning. The activity was recently brought to the planning staff, who then informed the applicant of the need for rezoning if the outdoor activity was to remain. That applicant wanted it rezoned from C3 to, in a general commercial district, to a planned commercial development just like Hounds Lounge. To allow the addition of an outdoor play area as an allowable use, the applicant indicated that no dogs would be left or boarded or left out overnight. The kennel capacity for the facility was 25 to 30 dogs. Might interject here, if you look at what Hounds Lounge had initially submitted as their plan, it says 110 dogs, and it also says that they would have daycare for additional dogs. So we're talking about not 25 or 30 dogs, but one number that I had heard Justin, Mandy's partner, use at one point, including the daycare, would be upwards of 150 dogs. Tonight I hear 42 suites instead of 75, so I don't really know what the number is. But I do know that even if it's the low number, this facility had 25 to 30 dogs. The site was located within a commercial district of Hillcrest. As you guys are all aware, Riverdale is a lot like Hillcrest in that there are different uses. There's lots of restaurants, there's lots of shops, there's art galleries. I guess the only thing that we don't have down in Riverdale is we don't have a post office. The only other thing that sets us apart is the population density in Riverdale is much greater than it is in Hillcrest. You have Riviera, you have the new River House, you have Holcomb Heights, you have all the condos over near Canal Point, you have Vantage Point, Riverdale, and so forth and so on. The staff, the planning staff recommended this for approval. The staff recommended that the approval be limited to the application having the hours and outdoor activity to remain only from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. The applicant stated again that his business was bathing, grooming, and boarding. He stated there was a small pen located within the rear of the existing building where dogs were placed to allow them to be outdoors. He stated there was never more than 10 dogs outside and no dogs were ever left overnight. The attorney for the adjacent property owners addressed the commission and stated that his clients were opposed to the rezoning of the site to allow the animal outdoors. He stated they were also opposed to the boarding aspect of the business, but understood that the boarding was not an issue since it was already an existing business and zoned for that. He further stated that the resident had owned his house for 28 years and had chose to move because of the noise. He stated that the dog house would place 15 to 20 dogs, not 150 or 110 or 82, but that he would place those dogs within the enclosure. He stated once the dogs got together, it was practice for them to meet and greet by barking. He stated that once the barking started within the alley, the dogs living in the south side of the area would then start barking in turn, and it would start a neighborhood chorus. He stated that Hillcrest was a unique business and that residents could coexist, as do the residents of Riverdale, with the commercial area. The resident addressed the commission in opposition to the request. He stated that he and his wife had lived in the area for 28 years prior to moving due to the noise. He stated that he had renovated his home and taken great pride in the renovation and the neighborhood. He stated that he had placed his house on the market and been unable to sell the home due to the barking dogs. He stated he enjoyed living in the neighborhood and welcomed the commercial into the area, but he did not welcome a commercial use which affected his quality of life. The commission questioned the square footage per dog. The staff stated that they were aware that there was an ordinance, but were not familiar enough with the ordinance to quote the square footage per dog required. I don't know what that is. I couldn't find it in the ordinance. There was general discussion of the commission concerning the proposed use of the site and the allowance of the outdoor activity. The chair entertained a motion for approval as recommended by staff. The motion failed by a vote of 1 yes, 9 noes, 0 absent, 1 position that was open. So I would just ask that if that standard was applied in Hillcrest, that it be applied to Riverdale also. I think what's fair is fair. You know, they talked a lot tonight about a sound test, but I don't know how in the world you can soundproof the outside. I don't know, once you open one of the 3 overhead doors, and the one in the play area, again, is 20 feet, 4 inches wide. Once you open that, you've compromised all of your sound integrity, and you're going to have all kinds of noise. You're going to have odors. You're going to have those kinds of things. If those doors were to remain closed and the outside area was to be scratched and not have an outdoor play area, I think that we could all live with that very peacefully. You know, again, this isn't an issue about Roger Clark. I have lived in that neighborhood for a long time. My parents have occupied that house before their death since 1955. There are people on my street that have lived there longer than that. That does not give me any special rights. I have no special entitlements, but I know how noise carries in the neighborhood. I know what's been successful in the neighborhood. I've watched it grow, and I've encouraged all those businesses. I'm just concerned, as are my neighbors, that once you open that overhead door or you have the dogs outside, it's going to be pretty chaotic. Now, in the proposal from Ms. Marshall to the city, to the planning, she had stated that the dogs would be, let's see if I can find it here. I don't want to misquote. I'll just read the proposal request from them. Hounds Lounge Pet Resort and Spa is proposed to revise the previously approved planned commercial development to add pet boarding and grooming as an allowable use of the site. Hounds Lounge has determined a need existed for this service to support pet owners in the downtown and midtown areas, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. The applicant is not proposing any changes to the exterior of the building or the exterior area other than adding an enclosed fence, uncovered area of approximately 2,000 square feet for the pets' outdoor activities and exercise. The enclosed fence would be located at the northeast corner of the property with one of the overhead doors leading into the enclosed area. That's the 20-foot 4-inch door that I mentioned. The applicant proposes approximately 75 kennels with an average daytime and nighttime population of 55 pets. Holidays and high-traffic weekends are projected at 110 pets. Pets will be allowed outside for 4 to 5 times per day for approximately 30 minutes, weather permitting. Proposed business hours of operation are from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, from 8 to 5 Saturday, and 11 to 5 on Sunday with overnight boarding. A couple of things. You know, if you have 110 pets, which is the number they listed here, do you let them all out at one time for exercise? And do you let them all out for 4 or 5 times a day? Or if you have 110 pets, do you let them out 10 at a time? If that's the case, then the pets would be out there, 15, 16 hours a day. So I think if you're going to even entertain the idea of allowing that, you need to have some restrictions on that. And then, as everybody knows, the number one the number one noise complaint in the city of Little Rock is barking dogs. Our neighborhood is full of dogs, and our concern is that there's going to be chorus barking, just like there was in Hillcrest. My dog's going to bark. It's going to make my next door neighbor's dogs bark. They have dogs next door. And this isn't about rescuing animals. This is about having folks that want a nice place to take their pampered pooch, and I'm all for that. I've got one myself. The only question is this the best area for that? And location-wise, absolutely. I mean, it's a great location. That's the reason why we choose to live there. But is it the best use for that neighborhood, businesses included? No, it's not. There's a reason why Animal Village and the Humane Society is located out where they are, kind of away from everything. It's because, if it were a Geico commercial, dogs bark. That's what they do, and that's what they're going to do. And I admire Mandy and Justin and their plan, and I think that they will be very, very successful. I think Little Rock has a huge need for it. But the other side of that is they could be there for 40 years. And what's the city prepared to do if this becomes a private or public nuisance? Like it was agreed by the board that it was in Hillcrest with 10 dogs and a couple of 100 square feet. I mean, if it was a nuisance in Hillcrest, and you're talking about more than 10 times as many dogs in our neighborhood, I mean, dogs in Hillcrest are going to bark in Riverdale too. So I would just ask that you guys would consider those things. Maybe, and again, if you are going to allow this thing, is it possible that you could restrict the outdoor use? Yes. Would you please? And if not, can you at least quantify the hours and the times that it can be open? Because again, there are day sleepers down there. Just because you're talking about at night, and if you have a dog, your dog's going to bark in the house, and your next door neighbor's dog is going to bark. Will back here has about 300 pounds of dogs that, when they start going, that there's something wrong in the neighborhood. They don't bark unless something's going on. It wasn't long ago that they were barking in the middle of the night, and I got up and looked out, and there was, an Entergy truck with a bucket truck hanging out over one of the wires, so I knew there was a problem. But again, I would just like for you guys to consider what I've said and to apply standards fairly. I've heard that there's Lots of influence behind this, the folks that want it done, Jimmy Moses being one of those. And, that's great. But, Jimmy Moses doesn't sleep where I sleep.
Mr. Carter, again, as I had mentioned to the previous applicant on another matter, this has to do with the land use issue, and it doesn't have
Yeah.
to do with any of the people who.
Well, I say that to say this. I know that there's influence, and I'm not talking badly about Mr. Jimmy Moses. I'm not talking badly about him. I'm just saying that I know that people of influence are behind this. Otherwise, I don't think that I think it would be a no-brainer. If it were going in your neighborhood, I think everybody would vote no.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have some questions or comments. Director Hendricks, you're recognized, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to ask, I noticed that this is dated October 2008, and it's from the Planning Commission, so where's the report from staff?
Mr. Moore, I was trying to recall this. I think that the board did take action on this matter, and if you would, or if Mr. Buzinski would remind us on what the board's decision was on it.
Are we talking about the doghouse?
Yeah. Tony, do you recall?
If he doesn't, let's defer it until.
Well, the Planning Commission.
I can tell you it operates because Charlie goes there about once a week, so, I mean.
So, Mr. Just a second, Mr. Clark.
He's had his turn.
We're finished at this point in time.
You.
The Planning Commission obviously did not vote for it. It was appealed to the board, and the board passed it and approved the request by the doghouse for the area in the outside area. So ultimately, this board weighed the issues and made a decision.
What was it? What was the decision?
I don't doubt that we did. We may very well have. I don't know.
Can we defer this?
Okay, does that answer your question, Director Hendricks?
No, it doesn't. I didn't hear an answer. What was the answer?
Board approved it, Director Hendricks,
Oh, the board approved it.
with an outside area.
The board approved it and the planning commission denied it. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
The outside area was closed.
But Director Hendricks, just to be clear, that's another property that's on Kavanaugh. What's before you, that's not what we're talking about tonight.
I know it.
Okay.
I know it, but I mean, he's using this as comparison. Is that right?
Yeah.
Now you all know I did go to the first grade. Okay? So my question still is, Bruce, did you say that during this time, Tony and them approved it? Approved this?
Board approved it, yes, ma'am.
Board approved it. Okay, and the planning commission denied it. Okay, I'm ready to vote.
Well, Director Wright, you're recognized, please.
Yes, my question, I guess, was for Mr. Clark, or maybe staff can answer it. Where is the dog park that I heard made mention of? So that's a long way from your
That's in-
neighborhood?
2.0 miles.
Okay.
Mr. Clark, if you're going to, please come to the microphone. Yeah, the question is, how far away is the Murray Park?
It's exactly
dog park?
2.0 miles to the dog park.
Okay, that was my question for you. So that's quite a ways from your house. So
It's
people with-
2.0 miles.
People with their dogs in that park wouldn't impact you all?
Not at all.
Okay, now, next question is for the applicant, Mayor. When these, I thought Mr. Clark had a good point. When you bring these animals out during the day, how, are they all coming out together, or how do you do that?
No, they're not going to be all coming out together.
Okay.
So I think that maybe Mr. Clark might be a little confused. We
Okay.
can't have a maximum of 82 dogs boarding. Those dogs are going to be playing. So we're not going to have 150 dogs in the facility. It's a 6,000 square foot building. I mean, could you imagine? We wouldn't be able to walk through there. The garage door will be open for the dogs to be let out to go to the bathroom and then put back in. And those are going to be only during those business hours. When Mr. Roger Clark called me initially, his concern, verbatim what he said, Mandy, my concern isn't during the day with dogs barking. My concern is at night with the dogs barking. So maybe his opinion has changed. And I want you to know that each dog that will be in our facility, there will be one employee for every 8 to 10 dogs. So there will be a social interaction with a human and there to monitor the noise.
So when they go outside, how will that take place? Because he did say there were some nurses that, or people that sleep during the day in that community.
As I mentioned earlier, we have made every attempt to compromise with Mr. Clark. I haven't.
No, I'm asking. Not-
Okay.
Forget Mr. Clark.
Okay.
Say you putting this in my neighborhood, where I got to hear this dog when I'm trying to sleep till 10 o'clock.
I want to be a good neighbor to you, Dr. Wright. Director Wright.
I'll
sorry.
take the doctor. But I'm just saying, are you staggering it? I mean, you're going 10 at a time? How, and they staying out 45?
It will all be based on volume. If we do find that it's best for dogs to go out one at a time, then we'll do that. The glory of it is our business, and we can make those adjustments as necessary. Like I said, we want to be a good neighbor. We don't want to be a nuisance.
Okay. Thank
So,
you.
Did I answer your question? No.
Thank you. Director Adcock, you're recognized.
I think this is for Tony. Mr. Moore, if Mr. Babinski could come forward, please.
Straczynski.
Mr. Moore, I have one question for you. Does Charlie go outside during the day when he's there?
Well, I'm at work, but I assume that she does.
So there is a play yard at the doghouse?
Correct.
Tony, I kind of remember back 2008, and we made some concessions up there for the community. Did y'all look at what we have done in the past at the doghouse when you recommended this?
Director Adcock, I can't tell you for sure if staff went back and looked at any previous similar applications. I just don't know.
Okay. Mr. Moore, since we're going to recess the meeting till next week, could perhaps the board defer this till next week and Mr. Babinski go back and look at the concessions that we made for Hillcrest so that we're not treating one neighborhood different from another neighborhood?
Obviously, the board, and it's up to you all. I will say that, in a sense, it is different because on Kavanaugh, there's a house that backs right up to that, to the doghouse, or it's now called the dog porch, but it's up to the board.
So I've got two other cars that wish to speak against this, so before we try to
Okay.
dispose of this, I think we should
Thank-
give them an opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Tony.
Director Gazor, did you have something at this point in time?
Just a comment on where we are right here, Mayor, briefly.
I've got two other cars that wish to speak against the item.
Okay.
Angela Norton, please.
Good evening. My name's Angela Norton, and I live at 1703 Iris, directly across the street from Mr. Clark. You were talking about the distance, Director Wright, and they say 171 feet, but Mr. Clark's house, if you walk across the street from my house, there's Mr. Clark's, and you go through his backyard, and just right across the street is this building. It was an old carpet place, but it's really close. And when you think of a half of a football field, you think, wow, that's pretty far, but man, psychologically, this is pretty close. I do commend Ms. Marshall for their efforts, and I commend Mr. Clark, because without him, my neighborhood really would not have been alerted to this issue. If you refer back, Moses Tucker found this building for her in September. We really weren't told until Thanksgiving or later. And so we were all taken by surprise. In fact, last night, it was already dark, maybe 7:30 was the first time I heard from Miss Marshall. My doorbell rang, and I live alone, so I was a little reluctant in the dark to answer the door. I do have a porch, so I was able to look through the window to the porch, and someone was already gone by the time I made it to the living room from the back of the house. In fact, they were already crossing the street. But I did get my first letter dated 2/1/16 as of last night. And one of the things that really shook my tree is letting them out to potty 3 or 4 times a day. And that just, all the noise, And the money they've spent on that to gauge how much noise this place will make, and yet we will be letting out up to, they have 41 kennels that can house 2, so that could be 82. So let's just say it's 41. That is a lot of dogs being let out. And these are big glass doors that open up. I've lived there, I've owned this house 23 years. So I'm concerned. And also, the quantity of dogs on weekends and holidays when this is really supposed to be used. And I travel a lot. I've boarded pets for weeks on traveling, unfortunately, when I had to. But up to 100, let's just say 110 on a weekend or a holiday. Okay, everything else aside, we're not thinking about the noise inside the building. We're thinking about the parking lot and all the interactions of the dogs coming and going. And I'm overwhelmed by it. Only because I really just didn't have a whole lot of notice on this. And like I said, last night was the first time I was approached by the applicant. I was a business owner for 20 years before I dedicated my life to education. So I commend her, and I think our part of town would benefit from this. Specifically, if it wasn't right up on a neighborhood. That's why traditionally these things have been out Highway 10, out Chenal, further away from really congested neighborhoods. And on top of that, and I'm going to let it go, my neighborhood has developed as a restaurant and design area. Also, I'm a Kavanaugh kid. I have lived up in Hillcrest and the Heights my entire life, and this porch, this doggy porch, I think what happened there was that they made them enclose that area. It has 4 walls and a roof. It's not an open area anymore, from my understanding. I've gone up and down Kavanaugh a lot, but that's my take on what happened up on Kavanaugh. So I appreciate you listening, and I would appreciate it if you would not revise the previously approved PCD.
Thank you, Ms. Norton. The next card I have is from Michelle Rogers.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board. I live at 1708 Iris, and it's 111 feet from our property to the Hound Lounge. 111 feet.
Ms. Rogers, are you at the same address as Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Okay.
He has been my domestic partner for over 15 years.
Okay. But the same address, okay.
Yes, we've lived there for 15 years. First of all, I'd like to address that the Hound Lounge is going to be operating 24 hours a day. And, you know, like Mr. Clark said, when the utility truck or any kind of vehicle goes up and down our street at odd hours, all of my animals in the house, you know, they're alerted and go running to the door. So, you know, we're afraid that that extra traffic back there, 24 hours a day, is going to cause that to happen, as well as I want to reiterate the barking chorus of, you know, if one dog barks, you know, it causes other dogs in the neighborhood to bark. But the 24-hour-a-day operation, I'm opposed to that, and the outdoor activities, you know, the outdoor use. I think their operation is from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I mean, all of this, and open on the holidays and weekends, that would be their busiest times. That's when everyone is at home in our neighborhood, and we have a right to a peaceful environment. I mean, this is a very small neighborhood, but I just, if I could ask each of you, would you want this in across the street from your house? I don't think the answer would be yes. So I just don't think this is the best place for this business. I commend them on everything they've done, and I appreciate it. But this is not the best place for this business. And when the trains, this is a switching station. It's very loud, and when they clash together, it's louder than thunder, okay? And I think it's cruel. I mean, all of our animals have gotten used to it. These animals staying at the Hound Lounge, this is all new to them. And I think it could be a cruelty situation. I mean, when these are clashing together, and that's going to cause them to bark and be upset. And I mean, it's louder than thunder, and it shakes the windows in our houses. So I just don't think this is the best place for this business. And those are my oppositions, and I would appreciate your vote to at least defer.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Gazort, did you have a question or a comment?
Comments, Mayor, thank you. I'll say I certainly appreciate the residents' concern. I've gone out and looked at this area, and it is certainly a very viable commercial area that I stood there and watched for a while. Very high traffic, a lot of noise from high traffic, fairly constant noise, a little less some at night than at day. I'm not seeing so much even the potential of dogs at this point being louder than the traffic. I will say I have never seen an applicant who went to the extraordinary lengths I think this one has to try and address some of the concerns that the neighborhood has had, and not invalid or inappropriate concerns, but it's certainly gone to extreme levels and lengths to try and address those with soundproofing and taking sound tests, and I'm pretty amazed by that. I understand the concern about the 24-hour, keeping dogs for 24 hours. We have vets all over this town who kennel dogs and keep dogs on a 24-hour basis. And we have vets that live, whose businesses are in close proximity to a lot of residential houses. Dogs being outside in the day, I understand that being a concern. I'm going to assume that, like in my neighborhood, that the pets that are in this neighborhood are probably outside during the day as well. The valid concern is being the dogs being inside at night, which the applicant has said the building will be closed. It's extraordinarily been soundproof. I don't see where the concern of loud barking dogs at night, which would interrupt, the majority of people's sleep patterns, is a great concern. And given putting all those factors together, I'm going to be supportive of this application.
Okay, that completes the cars that we have. Is there any other discussion? The question's been called. A vote yes is to approve the planned zoning development to allow for the pet lounge, pet spa and resort. A vote yes is for, a vote nay is against. All in favor of the approval of the ordinance indicate by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. That concludes that item. Thank you very much for your concerns and discussions, and I hope that we can demonstrate, now that this matter has been approved, that the pet lounge will be good neighbors. Well, I'll let you tell him that. I mean, he's able to, we have barking dog ordinances and we have nuisance ordinances. Okay, We can move on to the other item on our agenda. Our other item on the agenda is a public hearing. Let me go ahead and open up the public hearing and ask for the first reading of the ordinance, please.
An ordinance to abandon the undeveloped portion of the 44-foot wide Rose Street right-of-way located between North Lookout Road and Kenyon Street in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for the purposes first reading.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on second reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Second reading, please.
An ordinance to abandon the undeveloped portion of the 44-foot wide Rose Street right-of-way located between North Lookout Road and Kenyon Street. Second reading.
We suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on third and final reading. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Third and final reading, please.
An ordinance to abandon the undeveloped portion of the 44-foot wide Rose Street right-of-way located between North Lookout Road and Kenyon Street. Third and final reading.
Is there anyone here that wishes to either speak for or against this item? Anyone who wishes to speak for or against this item? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing. All in favor of the passage of this ordinance indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ordinance is passed. Let me call on Director Hendricks, who wishes to address us on something.
Yes.
Director Hendricks?
Thank you, Mayor. I really wanted to thank you and Mr. Moore for sort of giving me some guidance on this email that I sent to all of you that had to do with the violence that occurred on the weekend. And I want to read this, if you don't mind. This goes to Mayor Mark Stoller, and it says, Mark, thanks for sharing with me the policy. Included was Mr. Moore, who did call me to let me know what it was. So I said, let's talk about the criminal activity this past weekend by minorities publicly. Yes, such activity will have a devastating impact on the city of Little Rock as a whole. As a minority, it is troubling to witness such violence and not demand open dialogue from each board member publicly today. Chief Buckner and the city manager need to hear from each of us publicly. And I said that it's all of this is happening, and we talk about not me, but you hear this thing about Black Pride and all that stuff. But I think that we need to look at policies to change this, because if it's Black Pride out here, why are we killing like we're doing? And that's my question, and I know it would be difficult for you all to say that as Caucasians, but I want to let you know that I'm concerned about it, and I think that we all should be concerned about it. And what I did, I called over to State Capitol today to get a gist of, it's a new law. Well, it's not new. It's the one that has to do with where this act was passed, and it's called the Child Maltreatment Act, where you could not discipline your own child. That is the beginning of some of this stuff that we see. I think, Joan, you mentioned about the curfew. I think that we need to take a look at all of these laws, and we need to really get to the core of it by parents. I mentioned to Mr. Moore about the PIT program. Look at the money we spend on that program. And it's not to say that these individuals have been touched by the program, but if we're spending this kind of money and getting the results that we see and what we saw, something needs to be changed with that program. I'm not saying that money's going to fix it, but I would love to see us start at the grassroots level, which is a parent. I think that we need to talk about a law that would have an impact on the parents of these children. The 11-year-old, on a Sunday morning, these children should have been in church. If not at church, at home. And I know that you all won't say this, but I will say it. And I say this as I walk these streets of the city of Little Rock. Because like I tell them, I have no fear of nobody. The only person I fear is God. And I know that we can have an impact if we set new rules. I'm being redundant, that curfew law is not working. I see these policemen driving and they even pass by these kids that are on the streets. Well, they ought to be ticketing them or their parents or somebody. So I hope that you all will join with me in seeing what we can do. We need to pass stricter laws on these teenagers that are doing this killing, so we need to talk to the law enforcement people. I'll be the first to sign the paper of the joint. And I don't want to hear this thing about you're doing it because they're black. I'm doing it because black is causing this problem, and I'm tired of it. Comments? Don't be scared. Come on.
Director Adcock, you're recognized, please.
Mayor, Sunday night, I had the opportunity to be at the home of Mr. Lopez and his daughter, which is the father, the husband, and the mother of this child and the woman that was killed. We had about 150, 175 people that attended the vigil. And there was people from the community, people from the neighborhood, people from the Working Together and the community group in Southwest Ups. And it was a wonderful service that we had, and everyone felt that something, as you said, Director Hendricks, has to be done. Last night at Southwest Ups, where we usually have about 30 to 40 neighborhood people attending, and Mayor, you was there, we had close to probably 150 to 175, including the Mexican consulate. And again, the father and the child was there. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock at a church at 8923 Sunset Lane, a group of people are getting together from the community, business people, just a whole group of people are meeting, and they've got 4 questions. Give me the 4 most important things that we need to do, how we're going to do them. And we're going to start looking at what we need to do. As the Latino pastor said that was there the other night, he said, quit blaming it on the school, quit blaming it on the parents, quit blaming it on the community. And he said, that's the person to blame. Each of us have a blame in this. And so that is kind of where we're starting on this. What can each of us do? Because it has to start with us. We can't say it's time that PIT did it, or that Mr. Moore did it, or the mayor did it, or anyone else. It's time that we all took a part in this and did it. And I think that we've all been sitting around waiting for someone to tell us what to do, and it's time that we all met together and start looking at what can we do. And I agree with Director Hendricks, lots of this has got to come from the home. I'm concerned about the curfew laws. I'm also concerned, my 16-year-old just got his driver's license, and I know that he is restricted with how many kids he has in the car and everything, and yet you drive down the street and you see very young people driving a car with a bunch of teenagers in the car with them. So I think that we all have got to ask serious questions. We have to look at the laws that we have, and if those laws are not working, then we have to find out why they're not working and how can we make them work for us in the community.
This will be my last comment. I did call and leave a message for Baker Curris because I think the school district needs to be involved. And I say that because during integration in 1957, when my children were the first blacks to go to the elementary schools, and it was a problem then, is that the teachers were expelling the children. So we need to find out how many people are being expelled, whether they're black or white, and I know most of them are black, I know that. That's one of our problems at the school district, is that these black boys are expelled from school because they're disrupting the class. But all of those things we need to address, we need to talk about it. If you all won't join me, I will do it because I've done it for 30 years.
Director Wright, you're recognized, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Hendricks, I applaud you for bringing this up and stating what needs to be stated. It is a hard thing to look at. I was tortured after I found this out. My mind keeps going to the fact, how could this have happened? What could have been going through their minds to make them take this action? What if that was my neighbor that happened to? And so I agree, something has to be done. And I agree with you too, Director Adcock, and I thank you for being with the family since you work very closely in that area. And I agree, we each have to take some responsibility for what's going on in our communities. And that's one of the reasons why for the past 11 years, I've been working to keep these kids engaged in some positive activities with their parents. And I do have 100% parental participation with these kids. And I know it's just sports. You can say, oh, that's just sports. please, believe me, sports work. Because when they're in that park, I know exactly where they are. We don't have any bullying, we don't have any kids fighting, we don't have any of that. All my fields are fenced, so they're safe. And their parents are there with them. They have young African-American males coaching them, so they have some role models too to look at. So I'm encouraging positive behavior here. So yeah, I stepped up. I don't even have kids. And mark me on this, I don't even like sports. But I've been doing this for 11 years because I know what I know, sports work. I know it work, I've seen it work. So all I can say is we have a serious problem here, and I just hope we don't have any violence break out between the Latino community and the African American community because of this. Because it was just, as in my mind, it's just senseless. How could you dare, at 15 years old or 16 years old, think about taking somebody's life? What did you think was going to happen? So, I mean, a part of my mind is confused about this because I can't imagine the thought processes that even led to something like this. So I am very much concerned, and I agree that we are putting a lot of money into this PIT, and that's why I wanted the Youth Master Plan to reevaluate what we are doing, to see what can be done in addition to this, because I think what you're going to probably find is there's a lack of parental support, there's a lack of supervision, there's a lack of mentors in the community and people that they can see that look like them. I guarantee you those are going to be our findings. So I am with you 100%. You let me know whatever you need me to do, I will do it, but I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing for the last 11 years. We had 1,200 kids last year, and I'm expecting that much more this year because we do have visibility now that the community center has broken ground and we got the new entryway. So I'm expecting to get even more kids off the street. And I applaud you for bringing this up, and thank you.
Vice Mayor Hines.
Thank you. Director Hendricks, I want to thank you for your comments. You're spot on, and you're right. You can say some things that I probably can't. I also want to send my condolences to the Lopez family. Bruce, would you mind asking Chief Buckner, he's been very vocal in the press, to come and talk to us next week at the agenda meeting? Or 2 weeks, that'll be fine. That'll be fine. You know, and unfortunately, Director Richardson's not here, and you know, I serve on CYF and very big proponent of our PIT funds, but at some point we really have to look at enforcement and some type of zero tolerance. The culmination, and believe it or not, we have some assaults and some robberies going on in our parking lots of our retail stores out west. It's happened in the last 2 weeks. And the general thing I see when I read in the paper, it's our youth. It's these teenagers, these young adults, and it's not just the males, it's the females. We had an incident out west over the weekend with a robbery of there was some females that perpetrated it. But Bruce, if you just have him come talk to us, you know, sometimes I know it's very reactive, our police enforcement, but until we can get to stem the tide, we've got to get folks out there, and I think looking at some very serious enforcement for some of these trouble areas and that we're popping up. And I know sometimes it's related to gangs, but if you can schedule the chief, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Director Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Director Hendricks, for your remarks and everybody else. I'm not going to be repetitive, but I do want to say that we've spoken to Baker Curris about making a presentation, and we can probably get that sooner rather than later. And if you want to just give me a suggestion on when we want Baker to come, I'll.
Director, he did respond and said he would let us know. So I'm sure, and we can call him and see if he's narrowed down.
Well, I think the situation is a little bit more urgent now for him to come. And I'm also glad that you brought this up, because I think people are really looking to us not to have all the answers, but to show leadership and to get people engaged and to start looking to, in a more cohesive way to really attack this. It isn't one problem, it's multiple problems. And so, Bruce, do you want to call Baker, or do you
Sure, I
want me
will.
to call him? Okay.
I just wanted to do a follow-up on Director Webb. She's asked us to do a review of the truancy issue in this area, and we spent a couple of months for finishing up the report. But the most damning statistic is that 5 of the youth involved this weekend were truants and on our truancy dockets.
And let me just add to that issue. You know, we have attempted to try and change the truancy laws and met opposition in the legislature on this issue. If you can keep kids in school, you've got a chance with them. Director Hendricks, you're exactly right. The issue of the inordinate amount of disconnected youth and adults, black-on-black crime. This is a national issue. It's not just a Little Rock issue. We spend a lot of time, I spend a lot of time with colleagues on the issues, whether it's the My Brother's Keeper initiative or Cities United initiative, looking at best practices. Baltimore just recently passed a very aggressive curfew ordinance, and so you know, that's something that I think we are a little bit, I think we're lax on it, frankly. I mean, I think the police officers have a lot of things to do, and that's not the highest priority probably on the street. However, you have young people. I made the comment, you know, a 15-year-old that can have a 9mm and decide he's going to steal somebody's purse and the gun and uses a gun. You've got to ask yourself, where are the parents, where are the caregivers as it relates to this? I've asked Mr. Moore, now that these 2 suspects are apprehended, I really want to understand and get the background on these individuals to find out where these gaps are and why we, the issue of how we spend our money. And, you know, I know everybody wants to take and we want to beat ourselves up on this because we're frustrated about how to do something on this. And, you know, as a city, I can tell you in comparison to other cities, the fact that we spend and have spent anywhere from $3 million to $5.5 million a year over the last 22 years is a unique situation for cities. And that's why I know many of us are frustrated about the issue of whether we're accomplishing what we want to accomplish. And so I'm all for going back and revisiting how we do that and trying to figure out a better way to interdict these kids that are at risk, that are the ones where we find ourselves just crying out loud for not only the victims of the families, the Lopez family and the other 2 victim families that we had over the weekend, but also for the families of these suspects who I'm sure didn't wake up that morning thinking that their relatives are going to go out there and kill somebody. So again, I know everyone up here is very sincere about it, and I think certainly we've got to engage the community, and we got to figure out how to get this community more engaged in reaching out to their kids and trying to assist. It's not something that this board has the power to change, you know, by just simply throwing money at it, and that's going to be the challenge, is finding effective programs that hopefully are doing as good a job as we can. Now, you know, as we talk about the bad weekend, you know, our city staff and everybody's been working hard on these issues of crime, and when you have these flare-ups, it brings attention to it. I know the chief is going to give us a report in a couple of weeks, but you're going to hear that, you know, that we had the lowest rate of Part 1 crimes filed to the FBI in 30 years. So we're making progress. We had a 32% reduction in homicides between last year and the year before, but that doesn't excuse the problem and the challenge, which is with our young people. So let's continue this dialogue and see if we can't come up with some effective programs that are going to help to address our young people in the streets. Vice Mayor Hines, did you? Okay.
Mayor, on the legislative front within the state, I know that sometimes we're unsuccessful because smaller communities in the state don't want legislation applied to them. I know that we've had some carve-out legislation done with language that restricts the legislation to cities or municipalities over 100,000. I think we've probably got some legislators for the city of Little Rock that would be willing to sponsor some type of legislation. you think we could get together on coming up with that, and I'll work on finding some sponsorship within our local delegation.
I think, and I'm sure we.
I mean, we had one of our state senators who represents
We're
Little
going to have
Rock
to
in here
flesh,
tonight.
we'd have to
so-
flesh out exactly what it is that, I mean, one of the biggest challenges we've got, and you've seen the inconsistency out of the state on the issue of our parolees. I mean, while we've been talking about young people, we've got a ton of parolees here that are not reporting in an inordinate amount, and the state's into dealing with numbers and beds. They're not into the issue of looking at a municipality's public safety in that regard. I mean, they're into trying to manage money and manage beds and the logistics of that, and we're into trying to do public safety. So when they get kicked out of there and there's not enough parole officers to keep up with these people, and if you read just recently, an entire flip. Now, if a person gets arrested, a parolee gets arrested on a new offense, a nonviolent offense, they will not be brought in for a revocation hearing until after the prosecutor prosecutes the new case. And I can tell you, having been the prosecutor, that means that person's either going to stay in the jail and load up our jail, or he's going to they'll make a bond. So you got a parolee arrested on another nonviolent felony, making a bond, and it'll take anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half for that case to be tried. In the meantime, they're out on the streets, and that is a serious problem. So what we had before with the Darnell Dennis case was the fact that then the parole, the Department of Corrections would have everybody brought in for a parole revocation hearing. Now they flipped that back the other way again, unless it's a violent felony. They're not going to do parole revocations until after that new case is completed. Wow. And so, again, we're going to be in a cycle here pretty soon where this thing is going to expand again, and I can just tell you it's an extraordinarily frustrating issue. So, Lance, yes, we need to have something done about some of those, or to try and make sure that we get smart. I mean, we've had our capital city crime prevention task force meeting and are going to be coming up. We've got a couple more meetings left before we complete our work, and we're going to be coming up with some recommendations. I hope that they'll be taken seriously, and that some of them will be legislative in terms of what can happen. So, okay, well, Director Hancock, I'm sorry, I kind of went on a little long
Mr.
there.
Carpenter, back in the 90s, we put in some laws pertaining to curfews and young people when they was out and everything. We had young people coming down here objecting to us, making them stay home. I would like for you to go back and look at those laws that we enacted, and maybe we need to make them stay home.
Director Hancock, Little Rock was, I think, the first city in the country to have a daytime curfew during the school year. It's been emulated in other cities. And we're making arrests on that on a weekly, if not a daily basis, because it gives us an opportunity to deal with the youth who otherwise would be limited to the juvenile court system, which can take 6 months just for plea and arraignment.
I would like for you to bring those figures to us, and I want to know that once we get those parents in court, what are we doing with them? How strict are we on them? And maybe we need to do, as Director Hendricks, maybe we need to tighten them up as tight as we can do it until this goes away again.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Director Hancock, let me just be clear. So you're going to get the statistics on the number of daytime curfew arrests that we've had over the last year, last 12 months?
Yes, and then also he's going to go back and look at what we did in the 90s to curfew some of these kids.
Okay. Director Campuris.
Well, like everybody, I was shocked and saddened when I read the paper. And, Irma, I appreciate your honesty in being able to state what the real problem is. And I'll have to tell you that 22 years ago, when we passed the PIT money, and Les Hollingsworth warned us that you needed to do this, that it is a great idea. And it is the right thing to do. We're just not doing it right. We honestly pander to people that shouldn't be pandered to. We give to organizations that don't have results. We never think outside the box. We never look at an issue without being politically correct, and we can't keep doing that. And as we move forward, we have to start thinking that we've spent 20-plus years and how many millions of dollars, and I was Sunday, I was truly saddened thinking we have squandered that money. And we might be worse off than we were if we hadn't done it. But we have to look at this problem honestly and not think about being politically correct about it. We have to give this group money or we're not giving this group money. We have to think if you don't produce and you don't make a difference and you don't start doing the right thing, we're not going to give you money, or then it's our problem. And the I is just what Joan said. I failed, and that's what we and that's what my disposition is going to be forward as we look at this problem.
Director Hendricks?
I want to thank you all for the discussion, which means that we will move forward. And I will be, Mayor, could I ask you if you would contact all legislators, but particularly the black legislators over there, because I don't hear anything from them either. And, I talk about them too, Yeah, it's just not fair. But again, thanks for the conversation, and we really need to do something.
Director Kazort?
Thanks, Mayor, and I certainly echo everything everybody else has said here. I want to speak to point out that we're talking right now about crimes committed by youth with guns, but our shootings in Little Rock are not all crimes committed by youth with guns, and some of our other shootings occurred because somehow in society we've gotten to the point, or people have gotten to the point, that they determined the best way to resolve an argument is with a firearm. And I don't know how we got, or people got to that point, but it is another issue that psychologically, I don't know, we probably can't deal with, but it's another issue out there that somehow is going to take a change in the people's thinking to realize that's not how to resolve a dispute. So it's more than just the crime with guns. It's resolving disputes with guns that we've got to deal with.
Director Webb?
Thank you, and this is just one more question on some information I'd like to get. I had lunch with a district judge recently who told me that there was a very high percentage of people who were supposed to have community service who didn't bother to show up. And I wondered if we could find out what that percentage is, because this does also go to the point of a societal issue that if you just think, well, I've got community service, but I don't have to bother to show up because nothing's going to happen. I'd just like to know the number, and if that is an accurate statement that the judge made. I guess, Bruce. Thank you. That's it.
Judge Fleming, I think, has some strong numbers on that.
That's who told me.
Director Wright?
I have just a few more comments, Mayor. I want to, first of all, thank you, Director Campuris, for acknowledging it's time for us to look at this thing a little bit differently. You're basically echoing what I've been saying since 2007, when I could not see any results in Ward 6 with the youth. And I thank you because that's one of the things that motivated me to get involved with trying to get the kids off the street out there, because I did not see anything taking place. And we just got to make better use of the resources that we have. And I agree with the mayor. Most cities would kill to have the budget that we have for this particular issue. Mm-hmm. Not kill. And I want to stay with the state for you all information that I will be in the near future, when I can get on her schedule, meeting with Ms. Sheila Sharp. She is with the Department of Community Corrections, I believe. Arkansas Community Corrections, sorry. I'm meeting with her about some ideas that I have to help lessen the impact on all these parolees needing housing and moving into neighborhoods that are going to panic our residents. So I will be meeting with her as soon as I can get on her schedule, and I'm going to ask them hard questions about their intent, because I think right now it's an unknown. We know that they have mandates that they have to meet, and now that the mayor is saying that, they flipped some things back, now that things have calmed down, that's of a concern for me. So I do want you all to know that I will be having that meeting.
Director Adcock.
Yes, I have two other subjects if we're about through on this, but I also.
Before you do that,
I also would like to tell Director Campiris or Director Hines, whichever one brought it up, that last night, State Representative Love said he was ready to take an active part in helping find solutions and to solve our problems.
Yeah, Sheila Sharp is part of our Capital City Crime Prevention Task Force, and she has been very loyal in attending, and she's one of the good guys, if you will, as it relates to that. She doesn't pass the laws, and she doesn't make the laws. She's got to try and respond to those issues, and so I do feel for her as it relates to this. And she's the one that has to try and look for the funds and to hire the parole officers that get burnt out after about 60 days. And so it's a real challenge on that level, but I think all of the comments that have been made tonight show that there's an expression to try and open up the door again and look in and see what we can do in a better way. And with that kind of dedication, I hope we can make a change. Brad made a very good point about, and Bruce, if you would, I know that the police department have the capability of doing this from a statistical standpoint, but I think it would be important information to look at the last 3 years of our homicides and to give us a profile on age, gender, race, and the type of incident. I've seen some of this information already, and I want the board to see some of it, but I know that a third of our homicides last year were domestic violence related, meaning it was either a spouse or ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, or it was a brother or a sister, it was a relative, and the point that has been made is that these people are settling their domestic disputes with a gun. And I think that data would be very helpful for us as we begin to try and fashion our responses to these things. Pardon?
Race.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we got a format.
Right. I think we can put that together. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all very much for your comments on this
Excuse me.
matter.
Okay,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Director Adcock. I just hit your button accidentally.
about dogs tonight, so now we're going to talk about chickens. Right, Mayor, chickens. Tomorrow night, the Animal Village Advisory Board is going to have a public hearing discussing chickens. We have had lots of complaints from different parts of town that some people have too many chickens, they're not cleaning up after the chickens, they're not keeping them caged, and they're running down the streets. And so we're going to look at, we've got public hearing, we're going to look at if we want to say so many chickens in a yard, so many square feet in the yard. Also, we've got complaints that my neighborhood people do not want roosters. And so we are also going to look at where do we allow roosters to live, where do we not allow them to live. So we're inviting the public to come out, those that like chickens and those that don't like chickens. And we want to hear from you and find out exactly what the neighborhoods want in having chickens in their neighborhoods. That's my first thing. The second thing, Scott, can you get a picture of this? Can't get a picture of this. The Animal Village is going to be the host to a birthday party. It's Catherine's birthday party. Catherine's going to be 11 years old. She's a special needs child that is in a wheelchair. And what Catherine wants for her birthday is a big birthday party. So she's going to have a birthday party on February the 13th from 1 to 3. Everyone in the city is invited to Catherine's birthday party. If you can't come, we're asking you to please send a birthday card or a Valentine that we can present to Catherine at her party. Catherine is going to the Children's Hospital in March for a very serious operation, and her family wanted to carry out her wish for a special birthday party this year. So all children, all adults, everyone in Little Rock and around the city, around the other cities, is invited to Catherine's birthday party. If not, send a birthday card or a Valentine to the Little Rock Animal Village to Catherine at 4500 Kramer Street in Little Rock, 72204. So all of the board tonight has filled out their Valentines for Catherine, and we're asking all the school children and all the other people in Little Rock to please send Catherine a birthday card. Also, Catherine has asked if you would like to send a toy or food to the Animal Village for the dogs and cats. She would like to share her birthday with them. So please remember Catherine. She's a very, very special child. Thank you.
There is a motion to recess until next Tuesday with a second for the purpose of conducting the annual evaluations of the city manager and the city attorney. All in favor of the motion for recess indicate by saying aye. Opposed, say nay.